Hello, everyone. Today is July 1st, 2025, and today is the day that I will be stepping aside and allowing the connection of Peter and Ma-Ryah to communicate for the first time on the YouTube channel and to be able to fulfill my commitment to them that ready or not, we're going public. After all these years and in my 70s, it's about time I embrace it, right? And take that step. So I'm going to bring them through. They will identify themselves as they come through. And as I spoke in my intro video, they will do the greeting in the way that was vital for me in the beginning of their communications. So even though after all these years, I know the energy signature, I know the connection that is made, they still do that to honor my first times of connecting with them. So sit back, relax, and listen to the words that they bring as they introduce themselves to all of you. God's blessings. And this is Peter from the higher realms of God. And also Ma-Ryah's presence is also here. However, it is more seen Peter O'Neill, an actuality of the lifetime that we connect with as we step down our energy to be able to communicate into your world and to have this woman, the vessel, be able to receive the energy that we send through. In spite of how it may appear, because of course we are able to move and manipulate our physical form, which took us some time to adjust to. We must be very truthful about that, and Ma-Ryah, even more so for never having been physical. We truly are not here. We send the energy of thought and we step it down from the absolute 12th dimension of pure absolute love, never separated from the source of all that is, God, Goddess, however it is you choose to communicate that being as. It is that which is of all things, and there is nothing in existence that is not part of that energy, whether it is realized or not. So that when we are coming here today, Ma-Ryah also is able to communicate the jingle you hear is the canines. Vessel calls it their necklace that and has their identification on it. She did forget to take off their necklace. So that is what you hear. And Ma-Ryah, when she first connected into the human realm, it had been many, many years after the vessel had been channeling grandfather. Then Peter O'Neill added to it, ourselves added. And then after the vessel had done a lot of the shadow transformation, the ego healing, healing of the scripts and limitations, and clearing her own life a bit more, even though she would tell you it seemed like it was just a drop in the bucket of all that has occurred since then, she was able to receive a higher energy. So Ma-Ryah came into existence as Peter and grandfather communicating. We never made use of the vessel eyes. And so the very first time that Ma-Ryah was connecting the group of humans that were gathered in her home, were very surprised to see the eyes open. And sometimes her eye colors will change, sometimes a very deep, deep cobalt blue, other times more green, as her own eyes are hazel. So they were surprised to see the eyes open, and they were not prepared also for the love that looked upon each and every one of them there. There was a person there at that first group of Ma-Ryah's experience that was requesting some healing to be done. So Ma-Ryah asked, may she approach the human? And that human said yes. So Ma-Ryah stood up, the vessel's body, and went to walk to connect to this human. However, to the extreme laughter and enjoyment of those gathered, they watched as the vessel's leg went through layers of the air, as Ma-Ryah sought which was the reality being experienced, which was the frequency of what was being experienced collectively by those within the room. Ultimately, she requested someone speak. And in their speaking, she was able to connect with this is the reality of where everyone is manifesting together in this moment. And then she was able to continue. So that we are aware of all of the layers of reality. You, as finite beings, you're aware of the reality you are experiencing. You can imagine how complex and difficult it would be if you were aware of every single layer of consciousness, every thought manifested and acted upon, including the ones in your choices that you did not choose. And yet they were manifested in your thoughts, and therefore they are created upon. Time exists within the astral universe, and especially within your earth, and those who create and get to manifest that journey of the human finite experience outside of the astral universe. Time is of no importance. And those that have studied with ourselves and Ma-Ryah and earlier grandfather through the years have quickly learned we are not good in understanding your time. And we may say we see such and such occurring within a life of someone who is asking a personal question of us. And we most often will get the month or the season correctly. However, it may not occur for 20 years. And then we get told by the vessel that she received communication that 20 years later, the human communicated that everything that was spoken did indeed occur. So time is not something we are too familiar with. However, for yourselves, time became necessary in order for you to experience who you are or who you are not, right? Required you to be able to have the process of having a thought and many thoughts and choosing which one. Brett, the vessel spoke briefly of that in her intro video, so we will not be going deeply into that at this moment. However, the ones that you did not consciously choose, they still are manifested and experienced. And later through our communications, we will delve very deeply into that and to help to bring an understanding of how it all occurs and why, right? So we are, as the vessel spoke, a being that knows itself also within the 12th universe, returned fully to the source of all that is, having had in our experience some human journeys, not a great deal of life experiences, enough. And then we chose to assist humans with some of the same issues and illusions and sufferings and so forth that we ourselves experienced, so that we were able to assist the human beings who sought our assistance to transform what was their life, what was their ability to transform it, and to clear themselves more. And sometimes it is to help with addictions of all kinds, including addiction to pain, addiction to punishment, addiction to, you name it, and a human may have an addiction to it. And that addiction means it is only something that you use in order to suppress what you are feeling and experiencing because it is not pleasant. Sometimes it is very painful. And to avoid the pain, humans will cover themselves with addictions very often. There is no judgment in that. There is merely the understanding of how that tool serves them and perhaps serves yourself. So we chose to do that as a guide. And through that, we're able to also heal whatever limitations still existed within ourselves, our awareness of self, any part of our soul that was not able to leave the astral realm to return to the source of all that is, because we still carried it as a belief that this was our experience, and we perhaps had remorse and regret about it. Remorse and regret is very often seen as a self-judgment, right? So until that was healed, we were not able to have all of our energy returned fully to our soul, the parts of our soul that agreed to dim itself enough to forget itself and to be able to create the human journey and experience who you are not. Ma-Ryah, when she first began to communicate, coming from the seventh universe, the universe of harmony, the universe of balance, the universe that assists in mediation for all many worlds within your universe, to be a reminder of the peace and the love and the joy, no understanding of separation. And so we were joyfully willing to dim our energy, to step slightly consciously out of the 12th universe of all that is, and to connect into the seventh universe, and to communicate and to bring understanding to the seventh universe. And we brought understanding, sometimes in ways they did not expect. Because one thing that we retain, no matter who we return to, our absolute love of the human being. Though our lives were not all joyful lives, some extremely difficult, especially our life as Peter O'Neill. Very, very difficult lives. And yet we loved the human beings so very much. And we became very invested and involved in some humans' lives in a way that we brought into Ma-Ryah's world the energy and the understanding of fear. Because as we worked with humans, sometimes we would carry the energy into the seventh universe for them to see. How does that disrupt the energy and the remembrance of pure absolute love? They were quickly able to counter it and to return to who they are and what their existence exists of, the pure love that they are, and with a greater compassion for what human beings experience, as well as extreme gratitude. They have never chosen to know that. We communicate in order to be the voice that is the reminder. No matter what you create, no matter what choices you create and make manifest, the love that is there for you never, ever is removed from you. You may believe it is, but that is you separating. However, that love is always part of you. And we address through our teachings the spark of consciousness, the spark of energy, that which is the flame of light within every human being, including any human who chooses a lifetime where they absolutely are separated from any validation and remembrance of love and will not receive it at all in their entire journey. When they return to the other side, they still hold so tightly to that. And in the passing of linear measurement of years, may take hundreds and hundreds of years before they begin to be open to hear and to experience the reminder they are love and they are loved. And then gradually their healing takes place. And once they are fully healed and remember who they are and all judgment of the life they lived, all pain of the life they lived is seen merely for what it is, the experience. Just like within your physical world, right? You have humans who choose to have as their career, their job, that they are going to be actors, whether in the movies, television, or on stage. And we often equate humans' journey with the actors and the stage because you choose before you enter into this world what's going to be what you choose to experience. Perhaps you're going to choose to experience what is it like to enter into a life and to choose the parents that will most assist you to know what is it like perhaps not to be seen and appreciated and valued and cherished. And so you struggle through your growing years, your childhood, seeking the blessing, the love, and approval of those who you were birthed to. And you pick up many shadows, many scripts that will validate what it is you chose to experience in order to then have the choice. Do you, as an adult, do you, as a youth, a teen, do you choose to bring harm to others, to have others hurt just as you hurt? Or do you choose to allow compassion for yourself and others to be brought to the surface, to be loving, to be assisting, to be helpful, and to lift others out of the depth of pain into the journey of healing and remembrance that they are absolutely loved and they do not have to prove that they are worthy of that love. That is your birthright as a soul manifesting in the finite world. You separate from love. That love never separates from you. So we will speak that you choose your co-actors, your co-creators. You choose your parents. You choose a basic blueprint of what it is you experience. Commitments made soul to soul to soul. There is a wonderful story in your physical world called The Little Soul in the Sun. We sometimes reverse the name improperly, so if we do apologize. Neil Donald Walsh, or Donald Neil Walsh, we believe it is Neil Diamond Walsh, is the author of that. You also may know him as the author of Communications with God. And he tells a child's story of a soul seeking to experience itself as forgiveness. So, of course, in order to experience forgiveness, one must choose and create and manifest a lifetime where something occurs that you have the opportunity to experience forgiveness. Forgiveness of them and forgiveness of self, forever choosing that in the first place. All right? So you choose all your co-creators. You have your basic blueprint of what it is you will experience and who will come into your life and who does not. And it is open also to spontaneous moments that occur based on whatever choices you have made along the way up to that point. When you enter into the life, you are the designers of your reality. And as the vessel spoke briefly, you design your reality by the words you speak. What you speak out loud, what you speak to others. Eavesdrop on your conversations with others. Eavesdrop on your judgments of others. And you will receive the knowledge of these areas of your own self to work on. Everyone represents yourself as you represent them to themselves. We will spend a lot of time communicating about the actors, your stage props that you create, your designs of your landscaping, and so forth. We will also speak very deeply of what is it like as a finite being, experiencing the flow of time, a beginning, a middle, an end. What is it like as a finite being to remember the knowledge of the infinite universe, the infinity aspects of all that is? And what is it like to apply that knowledge to a finite experience where all of your languages are geared to be experiencing, speaking of in a way of measurement, evaluating, comparing, diminishing and expanding and so forth. and how to learn to relanguage how you speak and the words that you choose. We will also spend a lot of time in assisting you to understand what is difficult for the finite mind to fully understand. And that does not mean there is anything wrong with any of you, that you do not have the capability of understanding the infinite teachings and principles. While in the finite world, it really means that you become aware of the duality. You are having the human journey experience. Embrace it. Find the joy within it. See the world as we see the world in yourselves. We always say we wish that every human is able to see yourselves as we see you. And whenever we speak, whether it is ourselves or Ma-Ryah that is speaking, what you experience is we speak in the plural. We do not say I. In the infinite universe, we are all a collective consciousness. All thought is shared. All knowledge is shared. What one knows, all knows. And so there is no separation. As the human, that would be very scary sometimes, to know that your thoughts are able to be heard and known by everyone. Because part of the joy of the human experience is you do not an experience being seen with the thoughts that are not spoken out loud. You choose what thoughts you will speak out loud. And you are not having the knowledge that anyone is aware of the thoughts that you do not speak. While we are speaking, as we said, Ma-Ryah is also present. So we are very gently going to pull away a little bit from the vessel and the connecting of thought to thought. The raising of her vibration and her frequency is like tuning in a radio station, connecting that, and through that able to access the right side of her brain and the eighth chakra area. So while we are being seen here as a separate awareness as Peter, we are also one of the same. As we said, there's no separation. For the sake of communication with human beings, separation is sometimes very honored. And so we always say we are Peter from the higher realms of God, and also Ma-Ryah is present. And if she is the one that is more forward in the presentation, she will say, God's blessings. This is Ma-Ryah of the higher realms of God, and Peter also is present. So we will briefly allow the connection more strongly to flow, to be received as Ma-Ryah. God's blessings. We are Ma-Ryah from the higher realms of God. And sometimes we are able to be heard as Peter speaks. Sometimes we have a different accent. The vessel herself hears our voice as a robotic, digitalized voice, though that is not what it is. It is our language that is step down, step down, step down, to be received. We have learned much about the human experience without having to separate from all that is and to experience that separation. We are very grateful to every human being that we have worked with, who one has been very, very patient with us as we learned and as we communicated our connection to who you are, the soul, who you are, ultimately the spirit, right? For as Peter and the vessel have spoken, we did not understand the journey of the human being, and so we required to also learn a great deal of how your reality is experienced as it is. For we could not imagine ever forgetting who we are or who we are part of, the energy of all that is. So sometimes the differences between Peter and ourselves is not so obvious as it once was many, many years past. And so we will drop that part now, but no. And we will correct the language we just used. We said, but no. As you know, when you place the word but in your language, you are canceling out everything that came before it. Instead, we choose the word of your language as however, allowing you to know there is an extra added excerpt to that. All right. So while we are blending as one, once again with Peter, know that it does not matter. We are not attached to names. So whether we are seen as Ma-Ryah, whether we are seen as Peter O'Neill, it matters not. We are one and the same. And also, you are one and the same. The only difference is you are experiencing a journey, consciously chosen, willingly chosen, to see what would it be like if I forgot everything of who I am, and how would I seek to be able to identify that part of myself, and that then is religions, spiritual teachings, love, kindness, compassion, no judgment. It's very challenging and difficult for us to keep this to a half hour or less. And we are approaching the half hour mark for when we began to speak. We hope that we have given you a taste of some of the things that we will speak and address. And other times, when later the vessel has part of this channel where you are able to do paid subscription and to have access to extra material, including having Zoom and come together meetings, being able to communicate with one another as well as ourselves, and many other aspects that will be spoken of as the time develops and is manifested for it. In the meantime, everything that is placed here is for anyone and all to be able to see and to be part of. Any questions you have of us, or what we speak and what we teach, you are able to communicate it in the comments. So in the knowledge of how your YouTube channels work, we ask that you hit like and subscribe. Subscribe is no cost to any of you. Never thought you would see spirit of unconditional love and not a physical reality to say, to subscribe. However, as we said, we have learned much about the human journey in all the years we have been speaking and communicating. So until our next video, when we begin to speak and to address as a lesson, and we will absolutely acknowledge sometimes it will be an hour, sometimes it may be more, because we speak until what is being spoken of is complete in that moment. You are able, as the human viewing it, you are able to watch whatever you have the time to watch, and then to make note of what point you stop watching it in order to return to it later, to be able to complete watching and experiencing the teachings and the lessons and the words that we bring and share into your world. Our commitment to human beings is to assist you to transform your lives from a life of suffering and pain, isolation, rejection, and judgment, to experience yourselves as beings of love, having love within your life, balance, harmony, grace, and ease, and no judgment of yourself or of others, and to be able to evolve and to take the next steps towards humans, next step of evolution, evolve from a reactive, ego-based knowledge to a responsive, consciously chosen response to whatever occurs within your life. So until next time, we bid you farewell and we give you much love. May your lives be blessed with love, and may you see and know yourselves as your Creator knows you. God's blessings. Thank you. And I'm still coming back to self. Um, as they just spoke, hit like, hit subscribe, press the bell so you're notified of every new video, every new lesson, every new communication with them that gets posted. And thank you for being here. And I will see you later. Enjoy the journey, enjoy your day. Choose how will you make your day as joyful as possible, as filled with love as possible. How will you create that? What choice do you make? Bye.